one of the hottest teams in college basketball right now. And you're going up against a team on Friday in Auburn who, entered this field as the number one overall seed. And we'll do, our more at length preview later on. But, scuffled a bit late. Wasn't crazy about their effort in the first half against Alabama State. I actually watched both of their first games in their entirety. And then Creighton gave them a game and then they pulled away late. This is I think this will be a war. And the storyline coming into this week is going to be how deep and experienced Auburn is. And maybe the depth might be something where, one of those data points where you give them a leg up in this matchup. But, Michigan's got a lot of guys who have played a lot of college basketball too, including its starting point guard who was on this Auburn team last year. So a little bit of extra juice there. Your guys' initial thoughts on the matchup. And, I feel like filling out these brackets a week ago, this felt like a possibility, and now we're here.
Yeah, I like the matchup. I really do. I like the coaching matchup, to be honest with you. I think Bruce Pearl is kind of a fraud. Better basketball minds than me have said that. And yeah, he gets lots of talent. But to me, Dusty May, as Buzz Williams said, is a genius when it comes to matchups and when it comes to scouting and analytics and everything else. He's proving to be an unbelievably good postseason coach. Now, we don't have a ton of evidence of that. We have enough, in my opinion, to say, hey, this guy knows what he's doing when it comes down to this. And when it comes to when we talk about matchups, right, and you look at Auburn and, of course, all the talent they have, and it's going to be tough. There's no question about it. This is not Texas A&M. This is a team that can score it. This is the team that was number one in the country for a long period of time. And they had 2 losses until losing 3 of the last 5 or something like that. But they're still extremely talented, probably one of the most talented, probably maybe the most talented team left in the tournament. But I like the way Michigan's playing, and I like this matchup. I like Michigan when it comes to physicality and the way they've been playing. We've seen they've turned a corner in that respect. If you look at the Maryland game and if you look at the Texas A&M game, even the end of that UCSD game, guys, they kind of imposed their will at the end of that game. So I think this is going to come right down to the wire. And when it comes down to the wire, I like Michigan's chances. What are they right now? A 6-point underdog, 6.5, Clay? Something like that.
I saw 7.5 yesterday.
7.5 is way high. I think Michigan's going to give them a battle, and they're rested now. They aren't going out to Atlanta on 2-3 days rest, and you aren't seeing guys like Damari Burnett was struggling, fellas, in shoot-arounds on Wednesday. He was having trouble just getting the ball to the rim. So that's not going to be the case. And we saw the last time when they had rest what they did against Purdue. They looked like a completely different team. So I like it. I think they've got a shot here, just like I think Ole Miss has a shot against Michigan State. We're already looking ahead, a potential Michigan State Elite Eight, but there are several things that can still happen here. Could be 2 SEC teams for all we know, but if Michigan were to get to the Elite Eight, and I think there's a distinct possibility, we could talk about Michigan State in our next podcast. But to me, I like Michigan to give Auburn one hell of a game.
Yeah, this is, when you played UC San Diego, you're looking at a unique style of play. Some of the things they do well, some of the things you can exploit. Texas A&M, some of the things they do well, offensive rebounding is pretty much bullet point number 1 there. And then some things you can exploit. With Auburn, it's more like, okay, you're playing a complete team. You're playing the number 1 overall seed, so you're going to have to be really good in pretty much every area here. And like you said, Chris, they're not just a really good offensive rebounding team or a great offensive rebounding team. Not quite to the extent that Texas A&M was, but they also shoot it really well. You're not going to get some of those misses out against A&M. And they're a great defensive team. They rank 3rd overall on KenPom in offense, 13th or 12th in defense. And, so it's going to be tough on each end. But they haven't been really playing well for about a month either, or playing their best. It's still, all relative because this is a really good team. Tre Donaldson going against his former team. They got a freshman point guard in Pettiford that will be matched up with him. And then the big man matchup is really exciting with Vladislav Golden out of whatever Russia that the PR staff there, the NCAA, made a mistake on his hometown before the game the other day. But him and the way he's been playing, and Danny Wolf against Janai Broom, who's probably going to finish runner-up for all the National Player of the Year awards, to Cooper Flagg from Duke, Anthony's nephew there, Neff he calls him, and then Dylan Cardwell as well down low, plays about half the game at 6'11", 255 pounds. I'm excited to see all that. How Tre Donaldson comes out against his former team. It's interesting when Roddy Gale played Ohio State earlier in the year. It was kind of a revenge game on the fans. Like, he loved the program and talked all about that leading into it. Loved the teammates, Diebler and the coaching staff. But with Tre Donaldson, although he would have been welcome back if he would have come back this past season instead of transferring to Michigan, this feels like a little bit more of a revenge game on the actual program, just because he maybe didn't play as well or as much as he would have wanted to, things of that nature. So we'll see how he handles that. Who else can step up in this matchup? It's probably going to be a crowd that's against you. Especially considering that, Auburn is right there, and you may get some Michigan State fans. If they win in the game earlier, I guess they might want to face Michigan, but they hate Michigan so much that they'll probably be rooting against them anyway, and the building can turn on you, but Michigan should have a decent amount of fans there too.
The building emptied, by the way, at the Big Ten tournament after they lost to Wisconsin. And that was kind of fun watching them flock to the exits. And there was a backup on I-69 there for a while, as we heard on the traffic report. They couldn't get out of town fast enough. So that would be ideal if Ole Miss were to lose, because I don't think they would be. I think they'd definitely be rooting against Auburn, right? Their fans in the second game, the Ole Miss fans, if they were to win that game. So we'll see what happens. Anything can happen. But AB, I think we all want to know, is Broom really your nephew?
No.
I'm not allowed to comment on that out of NCAA protocols and out of integrity of how I cover the sport.
Yeah,
I'm just going to choose not to address that.
Okay, there you go.
Something I think that could be interesting. Also, just to point on Ole Miss and Michigan State. Look no further than what Chris Beard did to a Michigan team in 2019, where you think you're rolling, you can't be touched, and all of a sudden, they kind of stuff you in the locker and get you. His teams are always tough defensively.
And Michigan State.
Same year. In the Final Four.
That's right. So Michigan State fans are very aware of how dangerous a Chris Beard team would be. That's going to be fascinating to watch.
A lot of people are aware of how dangerous Chris Beard can be.
Jesus.
Okay.
I'm not touching that. Good Lord. Well, I'm happy that's the first. Again, we're going to be there no matter what. So you're not going to hear me complaining about a 9:39 tip off. Actually excited to watch that first game for a little bit, and then we get to settle in and do our job there. But something I think I'd like to do this week, the loss that really kind of started Auburn's slide at the end of the season was against Texas A&M. And just kind of glancing through the box score here, Janai Broom and Dylan Cardwell did not play well in that game. I think they had 8 points apiece. The bench did almost nothing. And Texas A&M didn't really shoot the ball well. It actually kind of looks like very similar to a lot of Michigan box scores we've seen. So excited to kind of dive into that and see maybe if there's anything to glean from that. I don't know. I don't know how rare it is that you're the last team that you played in the tournament has something on film for the next team you'll play in this event. So I'm sure Dusty May, Michigan, if they haven't already, that's something they'll be crunching sometime this week. But I'm not asking for a prediction, but what does your gut tell you about this weekend? Are we coming home Saturday? Are we just one day at a time and we'll see what happens come Sunday?
I don't know that I can pick Michigan to win. I just think they're going to give them one hell of a game. I think at the end of the day, I think this might be where it ends for Michigan. I think it'll probably be Auburn and Michigan State. But I've been surprised already, guys, by so much that's gone on in the postseason here that nothing would shock me. It wouldn't shock me. Michigan State rematch wouldn't shock me. It would shock me if Michigan got blown out by Auburn. I think that would be the only thing that shocked me. The other game I think is going to come right down to the wire. It'll probably be dependent partially on how it's called, but I think Michigan's got a legit chance to win this game, maybe 3 or 4-10, right? And I think that's fair. Everybody's saying, well, you look at the difference in the the spread and all that, I don't pay any attention to that. Michigan's been an underdog in how many games now? 5 of the last 6 or 4 of the last 5, and they've gotten the job done. So, especially with LJ Kaysen, the way he's playing now brings another element to this game. They needed him badly to step up. They needed somebody, and Roddy Gale. I don't know if Roddy Gale, he's not going to put up 26 probably against Auburn, but if he can just continue to provide a little bit of outside shooting, Reuben Jones, if he can help in that respect too, I think that Tre Donaldson is going to be playing with a chip on his shoulder. You got to keep it in control. You don't need to take over the game, but all in all, I think it's going to be a great game. I can't say one way or another on the prediction. I would probably predict Auburn to win a tight one, but to me, Michigan's going to be right there.
Yeah, and this team to me has played better as an underdog, kind of with a chip on their shoulder. I thought maybe throughout the season, especially when they were chasing the Big Ten regular season title, they played a little bit tight, especially in some of those home games that you really couldn't lose for resume and for the Big Ten title chase. But since then, like you said, Chris, underdog against Purdue, they win that one by 18. Underdog against Maryland by 4.5 points. They win that by 1 point. Underdog 4.5 points to Wisconsin. You win that one as well. That one by 6 points. UC San Diego, you're a 2-point favorite. Everyone's picking them. They're the trendy upset pick of the weekend, and you take care of business there. And then A&M, you're 3.5 point dogs, move to, I think, 2.5 by game time, and you win that one 91-79. So this team's got that edge to them that Dusty May said that he would hope they would, coming out of the Big Ten tournament when they thought they were underseeded as a 5. And they have something to prove here this weekend. So my official score, haven't thought about yet. That'll come in our show on Thursday from Atlanta. But I would lean Auburn right now. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Michigan steps up again and wins. And Chris, you make a great point on what it would take here in what Michigan is at this point in the season. Maybe it's better than what we've seen. If LJ Kaysen continues to emerge, right, then you're different than what all your numbers say you are, because this freshman has come on and progressed to the extent that he has. Or Roddy Gale, a guy who really stopped becoming a factor in this rotation, other than on the defensive end of the floor at times, from mid-January all the way till mid-March. And here he is now as somebody who was a catalyst in a couple wins over the weekend, the 2 biggest wins of the season, because it kept your year alive. So maybe they're an improving team with they don't seem deep right now with the 8-man rotation. That's pretty standard. But when you have a guy in Namari Burnett who kind of just didn't show up or play all that well over the weekend, but you had other guys that you trusted to put in there, then you look like a little bit of a deeper team than you were coming in, a little bit more talented because guys are emerging. So it might be coming together at the right time. No guarantee of that. It's going to take a lot to win, but they might be an ascending team here that is even better than we thought coming into this past weekend.
With Kaysen, you've got another guy that can go get his. Everybody's like, who's that guy that can go get his? If it's not Roddy and it's not Reuben Jones, who is it if Tre's not playing extremely well? And the second that he saw a mismatch in that UCSD game, boom, he was to the rim. He did the same thing against A&M. I sense it's going to be a little bit tougher against Auburn, but when you've got a guy like that can create, and he had some nice dishes too. He just missed a third one to Roddy Gale on a pass that got deflected, but then that changes your entire offense. You're going to get better looks outside. You're not going to be shooting contested threes. You can shoot some wide open threes, which we saw. So you're absolutely right. I think LJ Kaysen is one of those guys who has really changed the dynamics of this offense if he continues to play like that.
And he was doing that against defenses that, at all costs, prevent you from getting to the rim.
Right.
And he just did anyway. Yep. He's just got that extra juice to him. So that was really impressive. And sitting behind the bench, one of the things, LJ checks in, they inbound it to him. He's dribbling up the floor, and Dusty just yells, "Be aggressive, LJ." And boom, he gets to the rim in 2-3 dribbles. Yep. They have a ton of confidence in this kid. He almost scares you a little bit at times, and then he'll make a play. But he's just that kind of talented and raw, and he's developing in front of our eyes.
We talked about X factors heading into the first weekend of the tournament, and said how it's weird to call a starter an X factor. Tre Donaldson to me was that last weekend and answered the bell. And if I had to call my shot for who that guy is this weekend, I think it's Danny Wolf. I think what he does against my nephew against Auburn is probably the biggest key to the game. And then I think if you get a better version of Danny Wolf than you did in those first 2 games against Michigan State, if that's who it is, or if it's Ole Miss, whatever. I think he's a guy where if he's a constant this weekend, you might just not be talking about winning a weekend. You might be talking about having a chance to win a region, which is I can't fathom that right now. But crazier things have happened already this season. So excited to see about that. 9:39 p.m. on CBS Friday night. We got the A crew, Ian Eagle, Grant Hill, Bill Raftery, and the Michigan alum herself, Tracy Wolfson, on the call. So excited to get down there Thursday, see practice, check the vibes, and then it's all business on Friday and hopefully beyond.